Remember those 1970s dinner parties? When every table had matching dishes piled high with vibrant, colorful side dishes? The 70s truly revolutionized American cuisine with creative and convenient dishes that made every meal feel special. Today, we're taking a deep culinary dive back in time to discover 30 forgotten side dishes that America needs to bring back. Get ready to taste the past. 3-bean salad. If you went to a potluck or a family picnic in the 1970s, you knew the 3-bean salad was going to be there. This tangy, savory starter seemed to appear at every potluck, picnic, and family gathering throughout the decade, almost as if it were a mandatory requirement. What made it so special? It was the perfect blend of color and texture. 3-bean salad is simply put a combination of green beans, wax beans, and kidney beans, marinated in a distinct sweet and sour dressing. The dressing was the real key, often a mixture of sugar, vinegar, and oil, spiced up with a bit of onion and green bell peppers for that necessary crunch and tang. When you looked at a bowl of it, the vibrant red of the kidney beans, the deep green of the green beans, and the yellow-white of the wax beans made it a visual centerpiece. For 1970s homemakers, this dish was the absolute epitome of culinary convenience. Why? The beauty of this dish was its shelf life. It could be made ahead of time, days even, and it could last for days. In fact, many argue it tasted even better after marinating for 24 hours, giving the beans time to really soak up that sweet and sour flavor. Best of all, it didn't require refrigeration at room temperature gatherings like outdoor picnics or church socials. You could leave it right out on the buffet table next to the deviled eggs and the Chex Mix. This made it a lifesaver for busy hosts and hostesses. The preparation was foolproof too. Recipes were often printed right on the back of canned bean labels, making it accessible to every home, regardless of cooking skill. If you were feeling fancy, regional variations sometimes included chickpeas or lima beans, and some dedicated cooks added celery for extra crunch. It had a distinct tangy, spicy flavor and interesting texture, making it the perfect cool side dish for a backyard barbecue, pairing perfectly with hamburgers or pulled pork. Waldorf Salad. Ah, the Waldorf Salad. This crisp, refreshing salad graced holiday tables and ladies' lunches throughout the 1970s. It was considered the height of sophisticated entertaining. While its origins date back to the Waldorf Hotel in New York in 1896, it hit its peak popularity in the 1970s, when every elegant restaurant felt compelled to feature its own unique version. The core elements were simple perfection: apples, celery, walnuts, and mayonnaise. But this simplicity allowed for creativity. While the original recipe was strict, 70s chefs got wild, often adding grapes, mini marshmallows, a true 70s signature, or even mandarin oranges to pump up the flavor and visual appeal. To achieve a truly proper Waldorf salad, you needed crisp Granny Smith apples, and they had to be cut just before serving to prevent that dreaded browning. The mayonnaise dressing was typically spiked with a touch of lemon juice and sugar to brighten the flavor. However, if you grew up in a household that favored a sharper tang, you know that some regions preferred Miracle Whip for that specific zingy bite. It was a staple in every community cookbook, a sign that the hostess knew how to put together an elegant yet approachable meal. Ambrosia. When you hear the word ambrosia, which literally means food of the gods, you know you're talking about a Southern classic that elevates a simple fruit salad into something truly heavenly. This side dish, often decadent enough to double as a dessert, was a creamy masterpiece filled with marshmallows and coconut. Ambrosia combined tropical flavors with creamy indulgence. Fresh oranges, canned pineapple, drained of course, maraschino cherries for that classic pop of red color, mini marshmallows, and coconut. All of this was folded lovingly into either sour cream or Cool Whip. The choice between sour cream, more traditional Southern, and Cool Whip, more 70s convenience, was often a major dividing line at family gatherings. The magic of ambrosia lay in the balance. You had to expertly balance the bright acidity of the citrus fruits with the creamy, rich sweetness of the Cool Whip and marshmallows. While the prep time was reasonably quick, around 20 minutes, it was crucial that the dish chilled overnight for the flavors to meld together into that unmistakable taste. Every family had their own small secrets to the recipe. Some added grapes for moisture, others swore by pecans for crunch or mandarins for extra sweetness. This dish was an absolute must-have on holiday tables, especially Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was usually displayed proudly in a clear glass bowl so the guests could admire the colorful layers. In some regions, it was affectionately known as the 5-cup salad, when made with equal amounts of 5 main ingredients. The ingredients were moderately priced back then, costing about $3 in 1973, equivalent to $20 today. Sadly, the 1980s introduced a demand for lighter, less sweet desserts, which diminished Ambrosia's hold on the holiday menu, making it one of the sweetest forgotten classics. Watergate Salad. The Watergate Salad, that fluffy, bright green, pistachio-flavored dessert salad, became a phenomenon right after the infamous political scandal. Why the name? That's where the fun starts. Some people claim it was invented by a Kraft Foods employee, but the more enduring and funnier story is that it was named because it was full of nuts and covered up. Whatever the true origin, this convenient dish, which first appeared in the press around 1975, spread across America like wildfire. Its immense popularity perfectly captured the essence of 1970s cuisine: incredible convenience. It required just 5 minutes of mixing and absolutely no cooking whatsoever. The ingredients were simple: instant pistachio pudding mix, that artificial green color, Cool Whip, mini marshmallows, chopped nuts, often pecans or walnuts, and canned fruit, usually crushed pineapple. It was an incredibly easy way to look like you put in effort without actually doing so. A typical bowl serving 12 people cost about $2 in 1976, which is roughly $10 today. It was the ultimate crowd pleaser and was a guaranteed sighting at nearly every church, potluck, or family reunion. The artificial green color and the overwhelming sweetness were totally typical of the 70s convenience food trend. Variations included adding coconut, mandarin oranges, or substituting with different pudding flavors, though pistachio remained the iconic standard. Stuffed celery. Before the age of overflowing crudité platters and fancy dips, stuffed celery was the definition of an elegant yet approachable appetizer in the 1970s. The concept was simple and effective. Crisp celery stalks were filled with a creamy mixture, most commonly cream cheese blended with pimiento olives, or maybe some blue cheese for a sharper flavor. The preparation was almost a ceremonial art. Hostesses meticulously arranged these neat little celery boats on divided glass relish trays. These trays, often showcasing beautiful pressed glass patterns, also held equally meticulous elements like radish roses and carrot curls. The most popular filling, the pimiento cheese, could be store-bought for convenience or lovingly homemade. Of course, we can't forget the kids. For them, adventurous cooks often used peanut butter topped with raisins, creating the classic ants on a log. Professional party guides of the era even had rules. They advised serving 1 celery stalk per guest. The celery itself had to be perfectly crisp, meticulously de-stringed, if you remember the strings, you're an original, and cut into precise 2-inch pieces. In 1977, a tray serving 20 cost about $1.50 to prepare, roughly $7 today. Hotels and restaurants often featured this on their appetizer trays to kick off every meal. However, the intensive preparation and the subsequent shift towards faster, simpler appetizers eventually led to its decline. Copper pennies. If you needed a bright, tangy side dish that could be prepared days in advance and only tasted better over time, you made copper pennies. This was a vibrant make-ahead salad created from sliced carrots marinated in a sweet and sour tomato-based dressing. The affectionate name comes from the perfectly round carrot slices, which resemble shiny copper coins. The process involved boiling the carrots until they were tender crisp, then marinating them, along with onions and green peppers, in a sauce made from tomato soup, vinegar, sugar, and oil. Because this dish improved with age, it was a dream for busy hostesses. You could literally prepare it on Monday for a Saturday gathering. Some recipes allowed for variety by adding celery or different colored bell peppers. The complex dressing often included a dash of Worcestershire sauce and dry mustard to give it a savory depth beyond the sweetness. In 1975, making a batch serving 12 people was incredibly cheap, costing about $1 equivalent to $5 today. This was an especially beloved staple in the South. Church cookbooks featured dozens of variations. Its distinctive sweet and sour flavor appealed to adults and children alike, offering a break from traditional savory sides. Homemade Rice-A-Roni Pilaf. The iconic boxed San Francisco treat was a major convenience food in the 1970s, but ambitious home cooks often took the concept and elevated it into a homemade Rice-A-Roni Pilaf. This was the era of culinary experimentation, after all. Cooks took the basic idea, toasted vermicelli pasta mixed with rice, but then incorporated their own unique spices, quality ingredients, and fresh additions. The foundational technique was crucial, toasting the pasta pieces in butter until golden before adding the rice and broth, giving it that nutty depth of flavor. Common and popular additions included slivered almonds for crunch, raisins for sweetness, and fresh herbs like parsley or dill for brightness. This period also saw Middle Eastern immigrants introducing authentic pilaf techniques, which home cooks eagerly adopted and incorporated into their side dishes. A homemade version was slightly more expensive than the box mix, about 50 cents per serving in 1978 compared to 39 cents for the box mix, but offered far superior flavor and customization. This complex, flavorful dish complemented popular main courses of the time, such as roasted chicken or baked fish. Some adventurous cooks used orzo pasta or even wild rice for added variety and texture. Cooking magazines showcased endless variations, from curry-spiced versions to rich mushroom pilafs. You might still have one tucked away in your attic. Do you still keep a Jell-O Aspic mold? Which gelatin salad, sweet or savory, do you remember most vividly from the 70s? Let us know in the comments below. Tomato Aspic. Before you recoil, remember that molded salads were the height of fashion, and the tomato aspic was the queen of the savory mold. This shimmering, savory red gelatin dish was an undeniable centerpiece at lunch parties and summer buffets throughout the 1970s. While it reached its absolute zenith in the 50s and 60s, its popularity carried right into the 70s, demonstrating the era's ongoing affinity for all things gelatin. Tomato aspic is essentially made from tomato juice, unflavored gelatin, and a blend of spices. If you were trying to achieve the perfect aspic, the tomato juice often had to be painstakingly clarified to achieve that perfect, crystal-clear transparency when molded. Added ingredients weren't just for flavor, they provided necessary texture. Finely diced celery, onion, or olives were common choices. The savory spice mix was often robust, including Worcestershire sauce, a dash of hot sauce to wake it up, and celery salt. Some versions even utilized V8 juice for an extra vegetable kick and depth of color. The completed mold was typically served unmolded, usually surrounded by crisp lettuce leaves and topped with a luxurious dollop of homemade mayonnaise. In 1974, a mold serving 8 cost about 75 cents to make, or about $4.50 today. It was a sign of a high-quality event. Country clubs often served individual portions of aspic as an elegant first course. Carrot ring. This molded vegetable dish was designed to transform the humble carrot into an elegant, show-stopping center-of-the-plate garnish. It took simple ingredients and made them fancy. Cooked carrots were pureed until smooth, mixed with eggs, butter, and seasoning, and then baked in a ring mold until perfectly set. The visual trick was to use the resulting hole in the center of the mold to hold a contrasting colored vegetable, most commonly bright green peas, for maximum visual appeal. Southern Junior League cookbooks, the ultimate source for mid-century entertaining, featured countless variations of this golden, show-stopping side. Some cooks added brown sugar or honey for a touch of sweetness, while others went savory, including ginger or nutmeg for spice. The texture was unique. It resembled a savory, almost cake-like consistency without the flour. Proper preparation required steaming the carrots until they were extremely soft to ensure a truly smooth puree. In 1978, the ingredients cost about $1.50, roughly $7 today. Holiday tables, particularly Easter and Thanksgiving, were dressed up with these festive golden rings, which simultaneously impressed guests and cleverly disguised vegetables for those picky eaters at the table. Perfection salad. If tomato aspic was the queen of savory gelatin, the perfection salad was the reigning champion of vegetable gelatin. This molded dish was the ultimate symbol of 1970s gelatin culinary sophistication. Although it was first created way back in 1905, perfection salad soared in popularity during the 70s and was a staple at every ladies' lunch and bridge club. It was an ambitious combination: unflavored gelatin mixed with thinly shredded cabbage, celery, bell peppers, and carrots, all suspended in a tangy vinegar base. The secret to a true success was meticulous detail, cutting the vegetables into uniformly small pieces and arranging them artfully within the clear mold. This artful arrangement meant you needed to layer carefully to ensure the colors were distributed evenly. Some versions added pimentos or radishes for extra color contrast. Once unmolded, which required confidence and proper technique, usually a quick dip in warm water, the resulting ring was stunning. The beautiful ring molds created stunning centerpieces, often used to hold a contrasting filling such as a creamy chicken salad inside the ring. Making this dish was quite affordable, costing about $1 in 1973, equivalent to $6.50 today. Home economics classes actually taught the proper aspic and unmolding technique. However, the changing tastes favoring lighter, non-gelatin salads ended its golden age. Green bean casserole. While created earlier, 1955, the green bean casserole achieved legendary, iconic status during the 1970s. It remains the ultimate holiday comfort food. It is a deceptively simple dish, made famous by Campbell's Test Kitchens, who developed it using ingredients most Americans already had on hand. French-cut green beans, usually canned, that creamy staple, cream of mushroom soup, and the crowning glory, French fried onions. The 70s saw cooks getting creative with variations, adding water chestnuts for an amazing crunch, slivered almonds, or a layer of cheese added to the mix. While some gourmet cooks attempted to make it from scratch with fresh mushroom sauce, the vast majority stayed true to the original foolproof recipe printed on the back of the soup can. This dish was essential. A casserole serving 8 cost about $1.25 in 1974, about $7.50 today. It was present at every single holiday meal and countless potlucks. If you remember the 70s, you remember seeing Pyrex dishes of green bean casserole being transported to every gathering in those signature quilted thermal bags. Corn pudding. A true classic of Southern comfort food, corn pudding provided a sweet, creamy, and satisfying side dish that paired well with heavy meat dishes. It is essentially sweet corn kernels baked in a rich, custard-like mixture. The recipe combines fresh or canned corn with eggs, milk, sugar, and butter. Sometimes cornmeal was added to give it a necessary thickness and a bit of rustic texture. Its finished texture is intriguing, landing somewhere between a light soufflé and a dense pudding, topped with a crispy golden crust that hid the sweet, creamy interior. Traditional, ambitious recipes actually required scraping the corn cobs to extract every last drop of corn milk, a true sign of dedication. Some cooks enhance the savory side by adding cheese or even jalapenos for a kick. To achieve that perfect, silky consistency, it needed to be baked gently in a water bath, bain-marie. In 1976, ingredients for a pan serving 10 cost about $2, equivalent to $10 today. This rich, hearty side was an essential feature at Southern church suppers and large family reunions. Broccoli rice casserole. If you needed to get children to eat broccoli in the 1970s, you turned to this cheesy baked wonder. Broccoli rice casserole possessed the magical power to make broccoli appealing, even to the most ardent vegetable haters. It was a beautiful, convenient combination of frozen broccoli, instant rice, cream of mushroom soup, another Campbell's contribution, and that classic processed cheese, Cheese Whiz. This recipe often originated right on the packages of frozen broccoli, rapidly spreading across the nation via word of mouth and community cookbooks. Variations were plentiful, including substituting different cream soups, like cream of chicken, or adding water chestnuts for a crucial crunch. The secret to its success was ensuring the broccoli wasn't overcooked before baking, and of course, a crushed Ritz cracker topping was essential to provide that perfectly golden, crisp layer. Scalloped tomatoes. This baked dish took basic, abundant summer tomatoes and transformed them into a cozy, comforting casserole. Scalloped tomatoes uses fresh or canned tomatoes, layered meticulously with breadcrumbs, sugar, and butter, then baked until it was bubbly and piping hot. Its origins trace back to the Great Depression era, making it a natural, economical staple for 70s homemakers who appreciated budget-friendly meals. Bread plays a critical dual role. It absorbs the excess tomato juices, preventing soupiness, while also creating those deliciously crispy, golden edges on top. Regional variations added layers of cheese, chopped onions, or garden herbs like basil. The flavor profile was unique: sweet, savory, and mildly tart, appealing to a wide range of palates. Using stale bread was actually beneficial, giving purpose to older slices while adding a satisfying texture. In 1973, a pan cost an incredibly low 50 cents if you used tomatoes from your garden, about $3.50 today. It was frequently served as a meatless main course during Lent, or as a hearty side dish at church potlucks. German potato salad. For those who preferred their potato salad warm and tangy, the German potato salad was the ultimate choice. This salad skipped the heavy mayonnaise base entirely, instead utilizing a warm, rich bacon dressing. The key distinction of German potato salad is its richness and the preparation technique. It must be dressed while the potatoes are still hot, allowing them to perfectly absorb the tangy bacon vinegar dressing. The 1970s saw regional German variations spread widely throughout America, often shared through community cookbooks. Essential components include rendered bacon grease, vinegar, often cider, and fresh parsley. Some regional versions included hard-boiled eggs or celery seed for extra flavor. It was absolutely critical to use waxy potato varieties, like red potatoes, so they maintained their shape when cooked and tossed. In 1976, a batch cost about $1 to make, equivalent to $5 today. It was popularized by German restaurants and festive Oktoberfest celebrations, bringing a taste of European heritage to the American table. Serving it warm was what set it apart from standard cold salads. During times of scarcity, simple, economical dishes became unforgettable memories. What's one simple side dish from your childhood that you think should be modernized and brought back? Share your comfort food memory in the comments. Creamed onions. You knew it was a major holiday, usually Thanksgiving, if creamed onions were on the table. This dish of pearl onions swimming in a thick, velvety white sauce was a true tradition. The preparation was often a labor of love, and the tedious process of peeling dozens of tiny pearl onions demonstrated a deep dedication to traditional holiday cooking. Thankfully, frozen pearl onions eventually provided much-needed convenience without sacrificing authenticity for most cooks. The rich cream sauce, a classic bechamel, was frequently spiked with a touch of nutmeg or a splash of sherry wine to add complexity and sophistication. The proper cooking technique required gently cooking the onions to maintain their integrity and keep them from becoming mushy. Some regions topped the dish with buttery breadcrumbs or a sprinkle of cheese before serving. In 1974, using fresh onions for 8 servings cost about $2, about $11 today. Even the great Julia Child had a version, often incorporating cream and Parmesan cheese, which elevated this humble side dish. Harvard Beets. If you needed to add a vivid, dramatic color to your formal dinner table in the 70s, you served Harvard Beets. These sweet and sour glazed beets provided an elegant, deep red color that was particularly striking during the holidays. The dish is made by simmering beets, whether fresh or canned, in a sauce created from sugar, vinegar, and cornstarch, until it achieves a perfect glossy glaze. Its ruby red color added undeniable elegance to any plate. The origin of the name remains a fun mystery. Some believe it relates to Harvard University's crimson color, while others trace it back to a specific restaurant in Cambridge. Variations included using orange juice, adding cloves for aromatic spice, or a touch of butter for extra richness. Achieving the perfect glaze was tricky, requiring careful cooking to avoid the sauce becoming overly gummy. In 1977, a serving for 6 cost about 60 cents if using canned beets, $3 today. You would find a version of this dish in virtually every era cookbook. Savory zucchini bread side. If you were a gardener in the 1970s, you know that when the zucchini harvest hit, you had to find endless creative ways to use it all up. Enter the savory zucchini bread side. Unlike the sweet breakfast bread versions, this side dish was savory, focusing on combining garden herbs, cheese, and significantly less sugar. The shredded zucchini was a masterstroke, adding crucial moisture without overwhelming the flavor profile. Customization was encouraged. Variations included adding sun-dried tomatoes, a sign of a gourmet cook, chopped olives, or different sharp cheeses. The most important secret to success was squeezing out all the excess moisture from the grated zucchini before mixing, ensuring the loaf wasn't soggy. Some versions used biscuit for quick and easy preparation. In 1979, making a loaf cost about $1, equivalent to $4 today, making it incredibly economical. Restaurants often served warm slices with a pat of butter, alongside the main course, treating it like a specialized dinner roll. The abundance of summer zucchini made this dish both cost-effective and delicious, but it faded as people sought faster side options. Spinach Soufflé. The 1970s loved convenience, and the spinach soufflé was the answer to bringing French culinary sophistication to the American dinner table without all the fuss. Stauffer's frozen version became the gold standard, but dedicated home cooks also created their own using frozen spinach, eggs, and plenty of cheese. The convenience of frozen portions meant you could serve elegant greens in a matter of minutes. Homemade versions allowed for creative additions, such as water chestnuts or artichoke hearts for added crunch. Again, the key trick was to meticulously squeeze all the water out of the thawed spinach to achieve the perfect, fluffy consistency. Swiss or Gruyere cheese often provided that authentic, nutty flavor. In 1975, a homemade soufflé pan cost about $2, equivalent to $12 today. Dinner parties often featured impressive individual ramekin cups of soufflé as an elegant side. This creamy disguise even worked on kids who usually refuse to touch spinach. Marinated mushrooms. These tangy little bites were a must-have on every relish tray and antipasto platter in the 1970s. Marinated mushrooms were a sign of a good spread. The preparation involved soaking whole button mushrooms in a tangy Italian dressing or vinaigrette for several days. The mushroom farming boom of the 1970s made this dish affordable and accessible year-round. For homemade versions, the marinade was typically rich with herbs, oregano, basil, minced garlic, and high-quality olive oil. The goal was for the mushrooms to fully absorb the flavor while maintaining a firm texture. Some cooks threw in pearl onions or cherry tomatoes to expand the platter. In 1976, preparing a pound of mushrooms cost about $2, equivalent to $10 today. You also saw them prominently displayed as premium additions on many of the burgeoning salad bars across the country. The ability to make them entirely ahead of time made them a perfect fit for busy party planners and hostesses. If this video brought back good memories, give it a hype. Your support keeps nostalgic content like this alive. Succotash. A deeply rooted Native American staple, Succotash saw a significant revival and modernization in American kitchens during the 1970s. This colorful, comforting dish was made from a simple yet satisfying mix of fresh or frozen vegetables, traditionally corn and lima beans, simmered with butter and cream for richness. The name itself comes from the Narragansett word Amasiquatash, meaning boiled corn kernels. Southern versions often enrich the flavor by adding okra, ripe tomatoes, or even bacon for that deep, smoky richness. For cooks, the key challenge was timing. It was important to cook the beans until tender before adding the corn to prevent the dish from turning into a mushy consistency. Some added red peppers for color and a mild spice. In 1976, a pot serving 6 cost about $1, using frozen vegetables $5 today. This economical and hearty dish was featured prominently in both soul food restaurants and everyday family kitchens. 7-layer salad. If you wanted to truly impress guests with a salad, you made the 7-layer salad. This spectacular dish was designed purely for visual drama, showcasing its colorful ingredients through the clear glass bowl it was served in. The essential layers typically included crisp lettuce, the base, sweet peas, chopped onions, crumbled bacon, shredded cheese, and a thick, creamy mayonnaise dressing, which acted as a seal. The genius of this dish was its make-ahead capability. It could be assembled entirely up to 24 hours in advance. Success depended on careful execution for each layer. For example, the recipe often called for adding frozen peas without thawing them to ensure they maintained their crispness. Crucially, the thick mayonnaise layer was spread edge to edge, acting as a protective seal that prevented the lettuce from wilting prematurely. Some variations added hard-boiled eggs or water chestnuts for additional texture. Pickled beets and eggs. This vividly colored dish was a fascinating blend of Pennsylvania Dutch tradition and 1970s party trends. Pickled beets and eggs offered a dramatic visual statement on any buffet. The process involved taking hard-boiled eggs and marinating them for several days in the bright, deeply pigmented brine left over from pickled beets. The result was a shocking, mesmerizing pink-purple color that made them perfect for buffet spreads and salad bars. Beyond the home, this dish was a common staple in taverns and roadside diners. Bar owners discovered that this savory snack actually helped boost beer sales. The pickling brine was a perfect mix of vinegar, sugar, and spices combined with the beet juice. The eggs required several days of soaking to ensure the color fully penetrated beyond the surface. Cheese ball accompaniment. While the cheese ball itself remains a recognized appetizer, it's the elaborate accompaniments from the 1970s that truly deserve recognition. The cheese ball, along with fondue, defined the party appetizer and side dish scene of the 70s. The presentation was key. This centerpiece was surrounded by carefully arranged platters of various crackers, fresh vegetables, and specialized, often decorative spreaders. Restaurants and party guides of the time often prescribed the exact arrangement needed to achieve sophistication. The crackers were crucial, offering textural variety. Choices like rye rounds, water crackers, and Triscuits were standard. Celery sticks, bell peppers, and cucumber slices provided a necessary freshness to cut through the richness of the cheese. Relish Trays. While we touched on the relish tray with the stuffed celery, the classic relish tray deserves its own mention as the ultimate forgotten side dish ensemble. The relish tray was essentially a highly structured, organized vegetable and pickle platter, usually served in the previously mentioned divided glass relish trays or a lazy Susan. It was an institution. It was always the first thing put on the table and the last thing taken off. What was on it? The contents were predictable but comforting, often containing olives, green and black, gherkin pickles, baby sweet pickles, homemade bread and butter pickles, pimento stuffed olives, and occasional employees would take ground beef, shape it into patties, and grill them on the griddle as your order came in. The meat would sizzle, filling the kitchen with the unmistakable aroma of real beef cooking. Thank you for joining us on this flavorful journey into the past. If you enjoyed this video and it brought back good memories, don't forget to like and share it with friends. And subscribe to the Back to Yesterday channel to keep exploring these amazing nostalgic stories. We'll see you in the next one.